Hi, I'm Terry Bozio, and I'm here at my studio in Drum Channel, and today I'm going to be talking about AKG microphones. I've been with AKG since back in 1978, and back in '78 I didn't really know what good sound was, but my boss, Frank Zappa, really loved AKG mics and was one of their endorsers, one of the only endorsers. They very rarely give endorsements to artists, especially back then, so I was very honored to have been with them and taken the cue from a guy who really knew what good sound was about, Mr. Frank Zappa. So today I'm going to be talking about AKG mics and how I use them and place them in the various situations that I come up against. To begin with, we're here, if you want to pan over here, we're here with my big drum set. This is the room that I do my streaming live lessons in. And my big drum set is more like an installation, although I do travel with this and I can get it up and down in about an hour or so. The approach I take on this monster is basically to use an ambient approach. And so when you're talking about ambient miking, you're talking about less mics in larger general areas of instruments, and they're kind of placed back so that you can get a wider scope of the instruments in somewhat of a balance. So my favorite mic that AKG makes is the 414. This one here is the let me just get this because all these numbers confuse me. The C414 BULS, it's their kind of commercial model, but any 414 is readily available on any continent that I've been to, and they all sound really, really great. It's a large diaphragm condenser microphone with settings for whatever you need, and it's just an unparalleled sound that I believe is something I need to have. I can't do without. Now, for this kind of setup here, I have sort of an offshoot of the 414, which is their top-of-the-line gold model, and that's the 414 CBTL. The 414 CBTL, and this is one of a stereo gold-plated pair, so they're really well matched and a beautiful mic. And for this situation here in my room, I'm only using an overhead, stereo overhead, and these two 414s. Because of the size of this room, being pretty constrained, and the drums sound so good and the room sounds so good, all I need is sort of a left side image and a right side image, and we're away. Now I'm going to take you back here. This one up here is the C426 combo stereo mic. This is essentially like two 414s in a capsule that can be rotated so that you can go left or right or back to front or however. These two capsules here spin. So I've got them aimed for my application here sort of mainly at the drums because the cymbals are higher and they will go in and naturally be louder to this mic placement. But they aim at the drums, and what I'm going for is pretty much what I hear in my ears. So this being right above my head is very similar to what I hear acoustically. And it gets a nice warm, even sound over the whole drum set from this one-point stereo fixture. Now, I've also got just the two front bass drums. I use a D112 in, and I'll talk about those in a minute. While I'm back here, I want to talk about my other smaller kit, which is, I call it the Sick Jazz Kit, and I use that for playing with bands. It's still got the chromatic piccolo toms, and I think it has 5 toms here, and only 3 bass drums, because normally when I play with a bass player, I don't need to have a lot of bass notes. So in that kind of situation, I mic in a more traditional way, and I found that clip-on mics are really important. You can see my Sick Jazz Kit is a very similar setup to this, and there is really no place to put the snare mic except for there. Now this is a C418 clip-on. It's a condenser mic as well. It needs phantom power, and this was designed for drums, and it's a great, drum, I think, for the snare drum. When it comes to tom-toms, I like a little more warmth from the toms, and so I use a similar mic, but this one was designed for horns. It's called the 419. And this one I find has a better, warmer sound on toms. And my placement for that is pretty much just like this. I always check with engineers whether they want it to aim down a little more or up a little more. You always have to, ask them what they want and if something makes a difference by aiming it this way or that way. But basically, it's just facing towards the center of the drum, and it's a couple inches above the drum. The snare drum, same thing. It's about an inch above the head, aiming sort of at the center, so you don't get, you don't get so much of the rim sound. And it's just out of the way there in the only place where I won't hit it. So that's that. Now, if we come out to the front, I'll show you my D112s. All of these bass drums have one of these D112s, and this is a standard mic that's used all around the world. It's very common, it's very inexpensive, and it's really strong and sturdy and can handle the high SPL from being right next to a bass drum. Now, I've used these on the outside of a bass drum, and normally, I'll place it about here, something like that, a little bit at an angle. A good thing to do is to have a friend of yours play the drum, and you can hear out here where the best sound, the warmest, the most low end, whatever it is you're looking for. If you want a little more attack, you might want to move it closer. If you want a little more warmth, you may want to move it out here. So, just try and find the place and just aim it right something like this, and you'll be okay. Now, mine are mounted internally as part of the May system. It's a May mount internal miking system, and I think we might be able to show you one here. If I twist this around, you can see it's here. It's aimed at the back head. The beater hits about here, so it's not facing right at the beater. And it's funny, these things can be in all kinds of positions. That's probably an ideal position right there. But they do slip sometimes in traveling due to vibration and what have you. And it doesn't seem to matter so much what direction they're pointing, as long as they're not facing out towards the front head. They usually sound pretty much great and can be dealt with by engineers in any position that they happen to slip into. This here is the C451, and this is a really great mic for overheads, for hi-hats, for percussion, metal percussion, things like that. And I have a less expensive version of that, which is also a real quality microphone, called the 460B, C460B. And I have a couple of them back here. They're just set so that they can get the gongs and some of this percussion, and they have a really good sound and deal with high-end metal stuff in a very effective way. And, when you use these for hi-hats, you might be able to, you might be picking up sometimes a little bit of woof from the air pocket of the hi-hat. What you want to do is just use the roll-offs that they have. You can dip the low end and kind of get rid of that in case that's an issue for you. The placement, of course, we'll show you in the other room in a few minutes, and we can deal with how to mic a more standard drum set when we get over there. I forgot to mention about the C4000. The C4000 is right here. And it is like my favorite mic, the 414, but in a roadable case. I've got some of these that are bent and they still work. I like them actually for live applications because they are a bit warmer to me than the 414. And because they don't get trashed and the 414 can be a bit delicate, these are a great mic and they're very inexpensive comparatively. And they just sound great for everything. What I do on my big kit here when I'm on the road is I'll use one of these as a 1-point overhead. I go mono for overhead. I cheat it a little bit to the left so that it gets more of the piccolo toms, which are a bit softer, and the smaller cymbals over here are a bit softer, and that balances it with the bigger toms, which are louder, and the bigger cymbals, which are louder. So by just cheating it a little bit to the left, I get a nice overall drum sound from one place. Then I just ambiently mic one here in the front, and then, every 4 or so of the piccolo toms, 4 to 6 piccolo toms, one goes in here, one goes over here. Same thing on this end. I just place them underneath the last 4 floor toms and underneath the next 4 shell toms, and that gives me a really great overall drum sound ambiently. And I've used that not only in all my clinic setups religiously now, since I've had these for, I guess, must be getting on 10 years or more. And then I've also used them with a band, as long as the band isn't too loud, like the band I play with Alan Holdsworth, Tony Levin, and Pat Mastelotto. It's fairly loud, but not an incredible, full-blown Marshall Stax metal kind of volume. So we can use this ambient approach to miking, and the drums sound great. And because the mics are great, whatever does leak into them sounds great too. So we'll pick it up in the next room now.